the so-called fixer, Michael Cohen, is now going to be starring in his own little documentary or mockumentary or comedy special. I don't know what it is, but we're going to take a look at it because they just released a new teaser trailer where he's walking around saying he's the fixer, that he used to be working for Donald Trump and he can fix things. And now it's something that I guess America wants to watch. We'll see. But he also is somebody who exonerated Trump because we have this old letter from him. It's now getting a lot more attention. He wrote this back, or his lawyer did, February 8th, 2018. And it says that Michael Cohen did all of this on his own, that Donald Trump had nothing to do with it. Of course, we're asking ourselves, why is Michael Cohen then the star witness in this case? Why is he allowed to continue to sell t-shirts like this on his TikTok account that say Trump should go in jail and to prison? So we'll take a look at some other historical background on Michael Cohen. Very briefly, just to confirm, this dude is a bona fide liar and a convicted felon. And they're bringing him in here, I guess, to create some new lies. Now, let's not forget, as far as we've come in this trial, we're on day 16 now. Basically, everybody we've heard from says Michael Cohen's kind of a piece of work. One guy said, I don't even want to call him. And they said, we'll give you like 10,000. He's like, how long's the phone call gotta be? And so he did it. No one wants to talk to Cohen. Everybody thinks the guy is just very difficult and not easy to work with. He wanted to be the attorney general. He thought he was going to be special counsel to Trump. He thought he might be, I don't know, maybe, on the Supreme Court or something, for crying out loud. But he had a lot of delusions of grandeur. And this is what we have now, a new promo teaser. This is from Michael Cohen's planned reality show, right? It's called The Fixer. So this is who we're going to be listening to in court for the next 48 hours, probably longer than that. So we have to get our bearings straight. Brace yourselves, my friends. Here it is.
My name is Michael Cohen, and for years, I was the personal lawyer for a notoriously bad man.
Michael Cohen.
Michael Cohen.
Michael Cohen.
Trump lawyer and fixer Michael Cohen.
I fixed his problems, both professional and personal, gaining power, wealth, and notoriety for myself in the process. And I paid the price for it.
President Trump's longtime personal lawyer, Michael Cohen, is going to jail.
Michael Cohen left his apartment and then headed to federal prison.
The judge has just sentenced Michael Cohen to 36 months.
Since then, I've been on a journey of redemption, working to set things right.
Listen to this
with
music.
My family, my friends, my country, speaking truth to power and calling it like I see it.
I want to go climb a mountain.
In my books, Disloyal
right
and Revenge, and on my podcast, Mea Culpa. But now I'm paying it forward, wielding the tools that I've learned for regular people in trouble. The little guy doesn't usually have access to people with my particular set of skills, but that's all about to change.
He thinks he's Liam Neeson or whatever that dude's name is.
I'll work with you, offering expertise, advice, and solutions to fix your problem. Together, we'll change your life. I am your fixer.
And so anyways, it's wild, right? This guy is out of control. You're going to jail, okay? If Michael Cohen is coming to your fixer, coming to fix your stuff, you're going to jail. It's going to be a big problem for you because he's going to come wreck everything else. Wild. Here is what Cohen's lawyer sent some time ago. You see, this is the letter that came out some time ago, February 8th, 2018. This one is from the FEC, or going to the FEC, from Stephen M. Ryan, who, guess who this is? It's counsel for Michael Cohen. So Michael Cohen's lawyer. This went over to the FEC, the Federal Election Commission, from his attorneys over at McDermott, Will, and Emery. It says, Dear Mr. Jordan, I am writing on behalf of my client, Michael Cohen, in response to your letter. We know there's a complaint that was brought by Common Cause and Paul Ryan, and now we're responding to this specifically from the SEC. Now, in a private transaction in 2016, the Stormy transaction, before U.S. presidential election, Mr. Cohen used his own personal funds to facilitate a payment of $130,000 to Stormy. Neither the Trump organization nor the Trump campaign was a party to the transaction, and neither reimbursed Mr. Cohen for the payment directly or indirectly. Now, you might read that and you'll say, okay, well, that doesn't say that Donald Trump wasn't involved in this, and neither reimbursed Mr. Cohen so they would, I think, reframe this and say, well, Trump did, right? Neither the Trump org nor Trump campaign were reimbursing him, so maybe it was Trump individually. Now, contrary to the allegations in the complaint, which are entirely speculative, here you go, neither Mr. Cohen nor Essential Consultants made any in-kind contributions to Trump. Mr. Cohen has not been a government employee. The payment in question does not constitute a campaign contribution or expenditure, and therefore, the FEC lacks jurisdiction over this. And so the complainants have not and cannot present any evidence to the contrary, and accordingly, the complaint should be dismissed. Please contact me if you have any problems with this. Sincerely, your friend, Stephen Ryan, counsel for Michael Cohen. My client did nothing guilty. There's no federal crime. There's no campaign contribution problem here, and leave us alone. Okay, Michael Cohen got a lawyer lawyer before Michael Cohen flipped, and this was all in favor of Trump. I did it on my own. Trump org was not involved. Trump campaign was not involved. It leaves the possibility that Trump himself was involved, and then that would just be paying his lawyer legal services, and he was not reimbursed from those other organizations. So this letter is now making its way around. Now, Cohen's story is going to change dramatically, as we'll see, but here was more evidence. So let me just walk you through kind of what happened here. So that letter came out, it was February 8th, right? There's an investigation into Cohen. Something happens, Michael Cohen gets a search warrant. They raid all of his stuff. Same people, McDermott, Will, and Emery, they submit another letter. This goes back over to the court now. They say, "Dear Judge Wood, we represent Cohen. We have been involved in this case, and we know that there were warrants that were executed by the government." So the government comes in, they seize all Cohen stuff. And we have a problem with that. We think that the DOJ is partisan. They're investigating the attorney for the president of the United States. And so he's fighting this right now. He's asking for a temporary restraining order. They have gotten seized a bunch of privileged stuff from him. And my guess is they now have the goods on Cohen, right? And they're defending this right now. So they raid Cohen, they get all of his warrants. There's talk about him being in massive debt from other business ventures, whatever. So he is defending himself. Then something happens. The government comes out and they say to him, "Okay, listen, buddy, you're in big trouble. You either plead guilty here or you go to prison for a long time based on all this other stuff that we just seized," right? So his story was he did it all on his own. Trump is totally removed from it. Everything flips. Then he comes around and you'll see this. He made, first of all, false statements to Congress. So Congress was investigating him and they wanted him to turn on Trump, and he didn't quite turn on Trump as well. And so then they indicted him for that, and he was lying about that. Dude just lies basically all the time. So he ended up pleading guilty. This is the document, the special counsel charges. This is the information. Ultimately, he ended up pleading guilty, and here's what it sounded like when he came into court some time ago. "All right, court, you may proceed." And so Michael Cohen comes out and he's going to give his statement. You know, it's a factual basis to say, "I did these things. I am guilty. I didn't just make this up. I actually did something." He says, "Okay, as to count 7, I and the CEO of a media company," that's David Pecker, "at the request of a candidate," who could that be? I wonder who that is, "work together to keep an individual with information that would be harmful to the candidate from publicly disclosing this info." So the DOJ comes and they help him write this, right? He's reading something up. Then we'll let you plead guilty. You'll do your time, but you got to finger Trump. "After a number of discussions, we accomplished this goal. We entered into this $150,000. That was for Karen McDougal. And as to count 8, I also arranged to make payment $130,000 for Stormy Daniels. And I did it for the principal purpose of influencing the election," right? So they help him write this. The court says, "Okay, Mr. Cohen, when you took care of all these acts that you've described, did you know what you were doing was wrong and illegal? Did you know?" He says, "Yes, Your Honor, I did." "Okay, all right, you may be seated for the moment." He says, "Thank you, sir." So, okay, Cohen pleads guilty now, and the whole story changed. So it goes from, in the prior letter, "I did it on my own. Nobody forced me to do anything." Then he says, right, immediately afterwards, once he flips, this happens all the time in this country, by the way. They flip everybody. You co-defendant, they just flip you. And so he comes out, "Oh, no, it was for the principal purpose of influencing the election." So why was his lawyer saying something extremely the opposite of this just a couple months ago? How come? Well, it's because Cohen flipped. We don't know exactly how they got him to flip, but they flipped him. And so that's Cohen. We know the guy's a piece of work. He's also been accused of lying again. So remember, in the Tisch trial, this is an excerpt from a federal judge who said Michael Cohen lied again. The statements that he gave in the Engeron trial, where he was denying that he pleaded guilty to other crimes, gives the rise of 2 possibilities. A federal judge wrote this. 1, Cohen committed perjury when he took that guilty plea earlier. So he either pleaded guilty there and lied, or he committed perjury again in October when he was in Tisch's courtroom. Either way, it's perverse to say that this guy is committed to upholding the law. So a federal judge says this guy has lied again. So he's just a walking liar disaster. And of course, he's perfect to follow up porn star Stormy Daniels. So some interesting people were there at the court today. And you'll notice this is somebody who has been rumored to be on the short list for the vice presidential candidates for Donald Trump. JD Vance was here outside the courtroom. This was the scene on day 16, right before Cohen was testifying. In fact, Cohen's inside testifying right now. They were on a break. And here is what JD said.
So far in my couple hours in there. First of all, Michael Cohen is the prosecution's star witness. This guy is a convicted felon who admitted in his testimony that he secretly recorded his former employer, that he only did it once, allegedly, and that this was supposed to help Donald Trump. Does any reasonable, sensible person believe anything that Michael Cohen says? I don't think that they should. And I actually think that his testimony is going to hurt with any reasonable juror, and hopefully we have a few of those. I want to say 2 other things here very quickly. Number 1, the thing that the president is prevented from saying, which is a disgrace, is that every single person involved in this prosecution is practically a Democratic political operative. The judge inside, his daughter is making millions of dollars running against Donald Trump, raising money for Donald Trump's political opponents. The number 3 person in the Department of Justice, Biden's Department of Justice, left to become a local prosecutor to go after Donald Trump.
Matthew
And
Colangelo.
of course, there's Alvin Bragg, a Soros-funded prosecutor who promised to go after Donald Trump and now is doing exactly that. Now, look, whether you love Donald Trump, whether you like Donald Trump, or whether you're a Democrat or don't care about politics, what's going on inside that courtroom is a threat to American democracy, ladies and gentlemen. We cannot have a country where you get to prosecute your political opponents instead of persuading voters. Joe Biden's entire strategy is to try to distract from inflation at home and war overseas with this sham trial. I just want to live in a reasonable country where we try to persuade voters in our politics. We don't try to throw our political opponents in jail. So this is a disgrace, and I wanted to be here to show some support for my friend and speak.
Right on, JD. Thanks for showing up and supporting the president and for explaining exactly what's going on here. I think he's right about this. And it's always curious how they introduce this destruction of democracy line and language, which I think is ultimately overplayed. You know, we hear that all the time. Everything's going to destroy democracy, so basically means nothing is at this point. If everything's going to be something, then I guess nothing is. It's kind of irrelevant. We lose the distinction if everything is the thing. So JD Vance calls it out, and I think that's very appropriate. So we're going to jump into the trial in the next segment, but I think Michael Cohen is a terrible witness, and we cannot wait to hear what he says.